Jujutsu Kaisen loves surprising you with Easter eggs. I rewatched all of Season 2's episodes from Gojo's past in the Hidden Inventory arc all the way to the Shibuya incident and found these hidden details. Like in this blink and you'll miss it moment at the end of the Hidden Inventory arc, when Gojo awakes from his nap, we see his eyes are puffy and red. This hinted that he cried during his sleep. During all the events of what happened in his past and what happened with his best friend. Throughout this arc, did you notice Gojo's voice was always kinder and more mellow when he was speaking with Geto?
まあ大丈夫でしょう。俺たち最強だし。
This is a deliberate instruction given to Gojo's voice actor by Mappa to speak in a softer way whenever he was in front of his best friend, showing not only how special their relationship was, but that even the strongest goat, like Gojo, can be vulnerable in front of someone. Let's go in order back to the first episode of the Hidden Inventory arc. Remember when Utahime walks into the cursed mansion at the start of the Hidden Inventory arc? What would you think when you enter a room and find a chair on top of a table with a certain kind of rope hanging right above it? Someone must have eventually ended their life after failing to get out of the loop. Wait, is that a JoJo reference? You know, like how Diablo was put in an infinite death loop by Gold Experience Requiem? Nah, just kidding. In the next room, Utahime finds 5 hiking bags sitting on 5 chairs. A group of friends must have found the mansion while they were hiking, and the rest, they say, is history. The other rooms also paint a pretty bleak picture. It seems as though it's raining outside throughout their time inside, but when the mansion is destroyed by the boys, we realize that the rain was an illusion, symbolizing they were stuck in the loop. Moving on to our 6th Easter egg, there's that video which Utahime shows Mei while they are on their way to the site of the mission. The video is of the family that used to live in the mansion. And if you look closely at the PC they're using to watch the video, you'll notice the iconic Windows XP icon to match the times. A nice little detail from the animators considering how this was back in 2006. And it's not just the Windows XP icon. You'll also see that Mei is using a flip phone. Gojo was later seen using a flip phone as well. In the school gym, Geto used his cursed energy to influence the ball thrown by Gojo so that he couldn't score a point. Hinted here, Geto's hair moves in a flick motion and the ball is thrown out of the basket. In the same scene, you can see Gojo kept his eyes closed until Shoko puts his sunglasses back on for him. This is because of the insane sensory overload from his 6 eyes. Also, a cute moment between the two. Here Gojo crushes the cola can he finished with his infinity. Now let's move on to the 2nd episode. After Gojo and Geto rescue Riko, and the 3 of them are chilling in a hotel room, Geto asks our boy about his new cell phone wallpaper, and Gojo replies that yeah, now he has Waka Inoue as his cell phone wallpaper. Waka Inoue is an extraordinary Japanese idol who became quite popular in the early 2000s, especially in 2006, which is the year in which this story arc takes place. This also nicely parallels Yuji's wallpaper of Jennifer Lawrence from Season 1, which makes you wonder what kind of answer Gojo would give to Todo if he asked about his taste in women. Next, remember Gojo's iconic moment where he declares himself as the Honored One throughout heaven and earth. This statement is said to be a quote from Buddha himself. Here in the classroom, we see the same quote featured above the whiteboard. Is this where Gojo gets it from? I also talked about tons of other references in my Jujutsu Kaisen Buddhism iceberg video. Check it out here. This scene reveals how much Toji demands for assassinating Riko. They offered him $250,000, but he's not satisfied with that amount. That explains why he's been stalling to carry out the hit. Moving on, remember that scene from the 3rd episode where Toji butchers Gojo with his inverted spear of heaven? Well, we know that it's a tool that nullifies any jutsu it comes in contact with, and it is shown visibly in the sequence where the spear carves into Gojo's neck. As the infinity breaks because of the inverted spear, you can see the orange and then the green color churning outward from the impact. Well, guess what? Orange is the inverse of blue, and green is the inverse of red. Red and blue are the 2 faces of Gojo's Limitless. The reverse of those colors are shown in order to visually demonstrate the infinity being nullified. Here in this fight, we see the same cursed spirit that later fights Yuta and Unumaki in the JJK0 film. This creepy cursed spirit is a direct reference to a famous Japanese urban legend, the ghost of the slit-mouthed woman, known as Kuchisaki Yona. With a covered mouth and a pair of scissors in her hand, she would sneak up on her victims in the dark and ask them, "Am I pretty?" If they said yes, She would uncover her slit mouth and ask again. Your fate depended on your second answer. Following this, we have the scene in episode 5 where Gojo and Geto go their separate ways. It takes place on a busy street in Shinjuku, right in front of an alleged KFC. This was an anime-only change, since in the manga they were standing in front of an unnamed store. This moment in front of it went on to become the infamous KFC breakup in the JJK community. You bet KFC hopped on this chance for some genius marketing. When a random Twitter user posts about that scene, KFC actually replies with several tweets. Here we learn exactly where Todo gets his iconic question from when we see Yuki Tsukumo in this arc. Yuki is Todo's mentor. She took him under his wing when she saw how bored he looked when he beat up one of his seniors. Evidently, she was a big influence on him. Next, we have the Spider Lilies. The ending theme of the Hidden Inventory arc, Akari, is a poetic melody that shows life in all its colors. But one frame in particular stands out, and it's the one with the red spider lilies. Did you know that in Japanese folklore, red spider lily signifies death? Well, it also signifies goodbyes, which sounds so very fitting when you think about it. After all, what was Hidden Inventory even about if not about the deaths and the goodbyes? In the same ending song, you see these two Siamese fighting fishes swimming in front of Gojo and Geto. The white one symbolizes Gojo, and based on its shape, you can see that it's what a healthy Siamese fighting fish should look like. The black one, representing Geto, is what a sick, unhealthy one looks like based on the shape and its frayed tail. Exactly in this arc, the two goes their separate light versus dark ways. And since we're talking about the theme songs, let's also talk about the parallels between Gojo and Yuji. Remember that iconic train scene from the opening song of the first season where Yuji is sitting while facing down? Well, in the opening theme song of the Hidden Inventory arc, we have Gojo sitting exactly like him, down to the posture and even the way they're both facing down. It's a clear mirroring between the teacher and his student. Is it also some kind of foreshadowing? Alright, next is one more reference from Hidden Inventory that deserves mention. A Digimon reference from episode 1. Right when Yaga explains the whole mission about escorting Riko, Gojo casually replies that he understands and then proceeds to say that it would be fine if he turned into Metal Greymon. But we can't have him becoming Skull Greymon, so we have him start over from Koromon. Now, this may not seem like much, but it was a brilliant reference, and Gojo spoke like a true Digimon fan. Basically, he parallels how it would be fine if Tengen turned into Metal Greymon. Why? Because Metal Greymon is kind of chill in comparison to Skull Greymon. After all, Skull Greymon goes rogue and even attacks his friends. That's the kind of scenario they have to avoid with Tengen, and that's why the merger has to be successful. Though if you want to be a little philosophical, the Skull Greymon statement turns out to be true for Geto. By the end of the arc, he goes through a dark evolution of his ideology, and later in Film Zero, he turns on his friends. Before we move on to the Shibuya incident arc, notice how the entire Hidden Inventory arc is visually more noticeably bright? There are more chibi-style art, more lighthearted elements, more casual humor. It's like, is this really JJK? Especially compared to the whole Shibuya incident arc where we literally never see the light of day. Well, this is because we are watching everything through Gojo's point of view. This time of his life was evidently a happier, simpler time, when his best friend hasn't turned and he hasn't learned the things he has. Now at 27, there is Wally, or more like, where is he? You see, Where's Wally is a British cartoon series of children's puzzle books which is all about finding a character named Wally that is hidden in the groups. Back in the Jujutsu Kaisen trailer for Shibuya arc, you can actually see him falling down from above dressed as a prisoner, just like the books, and this is not the only time we see Wally in the second season. During the 8th episode, there's someone in the crowd cosplaying and it is just too obvious for it to not be Wally. Next, what do you think of a butterfly coming out of its cocoon but it's actually Mojito? Yeah, not very pleasant, is it? But this is from the opening theme song of Shibuya arc. There's a butterfly coming out of its cocoon, and it is meant to symbolize Mojito's instant spirit body of distorted killing. Next, just the sound of "You are my special" is enough to trigger all your past trauma. This has quickly become an iconic meme among not just the JJK community, but the overall anime community. But did you know that it also foreshadows Gojo's downfall? There are multiple references to Gojo's ceiling and more, and this is confirmed by King Yu, the song artist himself. This tweet explains what we're talking about. Basically, the "Get Lost to Me" can be translated to Geto Satoru and October 31st. which of course is hinting at the Six Eyes moment where Gojo sees Kenjaku, gets taken off guard, and is abruptly sealed. What do you think? Is it clever? Or is it a reach? Following this, we have another hidden detail related to this opening theme song. From episode 7 up till episode 20, the opening sequence shows Shibuya still intact. But in the 20th episode, the opening is changed to show a massive part of Shibuya completely destroyed. In the same OP, you could see the disaster curses like Jogo and Hanami in the old scrolls-looking drawings that are dimly lit on the walls. Reminds us that they were born from generations of deep-seated emotions from long ago. Next, there's Ultimate Mecha Maru. Episode 7 stands out because it is basically a tribute to the mecha anime genre. The scene at the start where Ultimate Mecha Maru lifts its head back and screams before plunging forward is actually homage to Unit 01 from Neon Genesis Evangelion. Ultimate Mecha Maru is actually paralleling Unit 01's Berserker mode with that scream. Then a few minutes later we have Mecha Maru directly referencing Simon from Gurren Lagann. It is a nod to the final battle between Team Daiguren and Anti-Spiral. And you know that staff at Studio Mappa wanted to make this scene special for everyone because the entire animation sequence where Mecha Maru mirrors Simon's last fight is an anime original scene. Though the only sad thing about it is how unlike Simon, who ultimately breaks through, Mecha Maru loses. At number 34, we're going to jump back to the 6th episode. Right at the start of the episode, Yuji tells Nobara that he's going to watch a movie, and when she asks about which one, he starts yapping about Human Earthworm 4. Well, remember the cinema scene where Mahito transfigures Junpei's classmates? The film they were watching is actually Human Earthworm 3, so the movie Yuji is about to watch is a sequel to that one. In the scene where Yuji and Megumi uses the threads to capture Granny and gang on the rooftop, the animators went a little extra and turned Yuji into Spider-Man. Yuji's voice actor, Junya Inoki, is actually the same guy who voiced the Japanese Spider-Man. And did anyone catch this moment of the strongest MVP in Megumi's petting zoo? This particular rabbit freaking held his own, beating down Toji for a good whole second. That's more than I could say for some of the JJK characters. In the iconic Nanami vs. Mahito scene in the manga, Mahito killed him by touching his chest from the front, whereas in the anime, they changed it to the back to show Mahito sneaking up on Nanami and also adding to the tension more. Next, we all know that Nanami talks about his dream of retiring at a beach in Kuantan, a city located on the east coast of Malaysia. Well, as you can expect from JJK's popularity, even before the 18th episode came out, it had already caused quite a stir among fans, especially Malaysian fans. So much so that one of them created a memorial spot for Nanami on Google Maps. And not just that, the state government of the region literally connected with the author, Gege Akutami, to discuss promoting Kuantan as a tourist destination. Rest in peace, Nanami. Your dream will be realized by the thousands of fans you have around the world. This was a nice little detail added during the Mahoraga fight scene. Animators wanted to show how overpowered Mahoraga was and how he can truly adapt to everything. See, this moment where he's trapped underwater, he actually grows gills to breathe underwater. This part wasn't shown in the manga. Following Nanami, we have Nobara's alleged death in episode 19, but the hidden detail we have next is actually the ending theme song. It plays right after Nobara drops down on the ground, and in comparison to the previous episodes, there are noticeable changes in the visuals of this episode's ending song. Note that these are exclusive to this episode. First change is about Yuji and Megumi. They are standing in front of a white and blue wall with goofy drawings of flowers and suns while having some ice cream. The next change is about Nobara looking surprised inside one of those gachapon shops. Megumi is with her and he is turning a knob on one of the machines. But the most sentimental change is when Yuji and Megumi are shown standing solemnly on a station platform, and after a few more snapshots, we see Nobara smiling towards the camera. She has her right eye closed and is giving the camera a thumbs up, and we all know what happened to that same eye in reality. Farewell, Nobara. Also, all the places we see our trio walk around during the ending sequence are all real places in Shibuya. Plus, they appear to be using a Fujifilm Quick Snap Simple Ace disposable camera to take their pictures. How is that relevant? Well, it's relevant because Fujifilm can only take 27 pictures. And in this ending sequence, we also only see 27 different shots taken by our lovely trio. And who caught this All Might reference in this scene with Toto versus Mahito? The animation style used, The particle effects, the background, and the way Todo was standing when he was about to Black Flash kick Mahito out of this world had a thorough resemblance to All Might from the My Hero Academia series. Fans were overjoyed. In the last episode, notice Kenjaku's curse symbol to unleash all the cursed spirits that he had captured. It's the same one on Megumi's sister forehead since she was one of the non-sorcerer victims cursed by him all those years before.